on my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, need you every day. You like my oxygen. Make it seem like the barging down. Got my heart no barging in. From the bed to the floor to the couch. Might wake the neighbors up. Break you in, then break you out. In the end, we're gonna make it.
Dionna, hi, and welcome to another episode of All-Time High. How you doing?
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I'm going to call this episode the No Cap edition. It'll make sense in a few seconds why that, well, a few minutes probably why that's transpiring. But let's start with the market cap as we talk about where we want to go from here. Let me share my screen. And maybe you could talk a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of market cap.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I haven't looked at it this morning. I saw that it was up. Bitcoin was up. Yeah, look at that. It's up today. Love it. So we're not quite at the all-time high yet for Bitcoin. 60,000, I think, was close to all-time high there, but we're not far away from it considering, when we started last year, it was sitting around roughly $15,000. So you're looking at a triple from where it was a year ago. Yep, there you go. So top, man, you're so fast, Jim.
I know. I move quick. Try to keep up. It's hard. I can't even keep up with myself sometimes. Yeah, there you go. In the last, well, that's one day. That's a nice daily move. But if we go back to 1 year, to your point, wow, look, yeah, all the way from March 11th of last year. So 11 months ago, down as low as 20,628, and now sitting around 45,000.
So doubled. So at least doubled from a year ago.
So that's outstanding. And then if you look at the entire space, let's see if I can get there. $1.71 trillion. We like that. And then overall, the fear and greed index, which is something I keep my eye on. When it gets too high, I'm a little bit more reluctant to overinvest, but it's at a 59, which is considered neutral. This is not financial advice, although we will talk about some of what's going on with the top coins in the space.
When it's higher, what does it mean when it's higher? So like when the fear and greed index is a higher number, it means it's taking over? Like explain to me.
There's more greed. So when I see this thing getting up to 80 or 90, usually we are moving up and to the right, and there's a lot of capital that's flowing in, which means at some point, if you've been in crypto long enough, you'll notice that capital gets pulled out.
Yep.
And people capitalize on their gains, and then you move back and you kind of oscillate back and forth between the fear and the greed.
Gotcha.
And I try to, as best I can, invest when there's heavy fear.
Yeah.
Right. But it's not always easy, because when you see that thing going up, it's like, okay, now I'm going to get in because it's going to keep going up. And what if I miss? And that may not be the right time, but it depends on you and your own internal decision-making and your risk tolerance.
Yeah, I got you. That makes sense. It makes sense. I like that.
So as we do, we're going to continue to check in on that piece of the puzzle. Today, though, we're going to cover some of the more interesting nuances about our show. And let's start out with, and I love this piece of the puzzle because we have created this through AI, and it's kind of the logo for our show. And if you don't mind, maybe tell the people out there what you do with AI and a little bit about your company, and then talk a little bit more about the logo that they're taking a look at.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been working in AI for almost 2 years now. I started with a company called 330 AI, which was the text to image generation, much like DALL-E and Midjourney. We figured Midjourney, they pretty much had the market. So how could we still position ourselves and take advantage and get market share? We had partnered with another company, and then we quickly identified that there was an opportunity for environments. And so what we do is text to 360-degree environments. So all these people are coming in, they're creating assets, they're creating people, they're creating houses. Those things need an environment to live in. And my company, Blockade Labs, that's what we do. We specialize just in environments. We do 6K, 360-degree outputs and various files to include 3D mesh and HDRI. And so we just got with Unity. It's great. But if we're going to DALL-E, which is who we use, which I love, by the way, that they did our logo, and it's just incredible, right? Jim, we've been in marketing for a while. Do you remember how expensive and long it would take to get a logo from somebody?
Oh my gosh. And what you would pay, and like you said, the amount of time that it took, and you were only on the first iteration. And so you were probably a week out on something this complex. And the idea that it would come back with, I got to a place where I was working with graphic designers, and people would say, oh, it doesn't it doesn't feel right to me, or it doesn't seem right to me. And so if you're really good at this, you get to give the graphic designer feedback. And so you get to say, I want this color, or I want that tone, or I want this font, or you got to give them corrective actions instead of not telling them it feels good. And so those skills translate remarkably well with a command prompt world that we live in now. And so, boy, oh boy, am I more than ever excited, because even with good dialogue between me and a graphic designer, it was still 2 or 3 days. Now it's like 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. Isn't that great? And then you can go, you're like, let me see if I can do another one. Let me see. And then I have like 50 that are close to ones that I like, and I can pick out. So you just get these infinite choices, which I think just help articulate people's intent even more, right? So whereas before we might have been able to be broad in how we represented ourselves, now we have the opportunity to be very specific.
And, while we do these, they're not perfect. And so I do want to share with our audience one of the ones that actually made it through. And I think this is just perfect because we talk a lot about all-time, the HODL designation. And so if you look at our intro video that played at the beginning of this, and it'll play at the end of this episode, all of them really past the first 4 or 5, this made it through. And it says all-time high, but sometimes you get typos that make it through.
Yeah.
So
all-time hime high.
All-time hime high. So if you hear us say all-time hime, or I don't even know how it's going to translate, but
all-time hime. I kind of like that. All-time hime.
Yeah, that may be a kind of thing that we hang on to and keep there as a foundational element to our show, All-Time Hime.
Yeah, that's our HODL.
So we want to have fun while we're out here, and be upbeat and be positive. So one of the things I did in trying to build out the show, we talked about it, we went back and forth. I looked for music that set up as it related to market cap. And so what I'm excited to share with you is we found a song called No Cap, and we want to talk to you a little bit about No Cap. So I'm going to go ahead and share this and play it for you, and then come back in just a second with details on that.
And I love it. It's a good song.
Here we go.
On my mind a lot, don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, miss you every day. You like my oxygen, make it seem like the barging down. Got my heart no barging in, from the bed to the floor to the couch. Might wake the neighbors up, break you in and break you out. In the end, we gon' make a child. Then we gon' hit the show. Part 2, we don't need no pause. Here with Misty, we gon' get tipsy, don't need a power shot.
Copy my steel.
See my move.
No cap, I'm real. No cap, I'm real. The plastic bars wanna copy my steel.
I don't start every day out that way. No cap, baby.
I mean, so who needs a cup of coffee when you got that music right in the background? I mean, It is some high energy stuff. And I liked it because no cap, to me, meant no cap on the market cap, which we said was at 1.7 trillion. We're looking at 3.1 trillion. We've talked about that 10 trillion seems obvious at some point when you talk about derivatives or tokenization of assets. I mean, do you want to put, I don't even know what that's my point. There is no cap. And what no cap also means kind of lyrically is that it means for real, like no lie, no cap, for real. I'm being for real about this. And so I know you feel the same way. And I think that's really good foundational music to start and close our shows.
That's great. I love it. I'm actually thinking about making my alarm clock that. So I get up every morning like, hey, no cap, baby, all-time high.
And the gentleman who, I want to give credit to the artist, and we've bought the rights to the song to use on the show. So we didn't want any copyright violations with YouTube, but Yaren Premack is our guy that is responsible for this. Don't know him, haven't met him to date. Who knows where this show is going to take us. But we've got a quick glance. Here's Yaren. Here's kind of his Instagram page. And if you're interested, he does have a link tree that I'm going to share with the audience here.
And I love link trees. Link tree is great, isn't it?
Yeah. If you don't have a link tree, I mean, we'll share yours at some point in mine if you'd like. But today you can see Yarn in his, and he's got all kinds of things going. So check him out, give him a listen, give him a like. And then the great thing about our space is the collaborations and the people that in the lifetime that you never thought you'd meet. So you and I had these ideas, we had these songs bouncing around in our head, and we're like, okay, we got images from DALL-E and AI, so we need somebody to bring this together. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, we found that person.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're talking about collaboration in crypto, one of the favorite things I loved about this industry was how inviting everybody was. I mean, you think I started, 2016, 2017, and within a few months, I was speaking at conferences. I've traveled all over the world. It's the first time I've ever hung out with billionaires. And, here I am, retired Army, working in sports, intrigued by technology, but I was able to actually study. This is all, I've never gone to school for blockchain, never gone to school for crypto. I'm all self-taught. I was just overly interested in the market and understanding what this industry was about. And I threw myself into it. And now, here we are years later, and it's actually become a part of my life. But you think about, crypto, you learn technology, you learn money, you learn government, you learn international law. Like there's just so many facets that crypto touches that if you dig into it, it's it's just never ending possibilities for people.
No, and it's interesting. Yeah, it's a journey. It is for sure a process. Things that you pick up along the way that you're like, okay, wait a second, not everything is a singular event. Like there's certain things that are going to be integrated and that will come together and it'll be bigger than any of the individual pieces. But I noted that you said loved. That was past tense. So we're closing in on Valentine's Day, and I wanted to. What did you mean love? Is it not like it once was? Is your OG crypto status kind of keeping you from saying that today it's maybe a little bit different, or what's your take on that?
Yeah. I think when I'm using it past tense, I meant like at that time what attracted me to it. I'm not going to say I don't have a love for the crypto market. I will say that this last winter, crypto winter, it was nice to see a lot of the companies shake out, although we hated the FTX debacle, which seems to pop up every day. But it seemed like the industry got overly saturated and there was a misconception about what the technology actually was. And, I'm an AI company right now. And as much as I don't like this part, certain bigger companies that want to invest in us, if we say anything about tokenomics, tokenization, crypto, they're automatically like, "Oop, no, we don't want anything to do with it." And a couple of that is just because the regulatory landscape is so loose. And we're not exactly sure which way that it's going to go. Some people just think it has a bad rap. And honestly, in some ways, it just doesn't even belong, where people just misapply the technology thinking, oh, this because it's blockchain or NFTs is going to revitalize this thing that normally sucks anyways. And the truth is it's not. It's just going to make it more complicated. So there was a little bit of a pullback from the industry for a second, but that doesn't mean that my support of it has deteriorated by any means. It's just there's a time and a place for everything. And right now I'm in AI.
Fair enough. And when you look back like that, I think it's very important, and you have that ability. And I have a tendency to look forward and notice what people say in the narratives that they bring to the table. And you may have seen it, but did you see Janet Yellen's testimony this week?
No.
So she started talking about stablecoin legislation like I've never seen her talk before. And in that regard, the urgency that she brought to the table in terms of getting something passed became almost surreal to me, because this time I've seen her talk before and she's been off point. This time she was on point, saying the right things. And when you have the right things at the right time with legislation supported by the Secretary of Treasury, I don't know that things will get passed through, but it does create an environment. I thought about, okay, what's the motivation? How and why would a governmental agency who's kind of been a little bit standoffish with it certainly start to advocate strongly for something? And it hit me. I mean, like, instead of printing dollars like they can do through the Treasury, the hard paper dollars, if you will, why not print them electronically through USDC or USDT? And all of a sudden I went, okay, this is something that I suspect is going to happen now. And then before, I'd heard prominent senators talk about the likelihood, but it seems like this time it's at a different level.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on what I said?
Yeah, the challenges, right? So I mean, let's talk about. It sounds great in theory, and like yes, it gives them a bigger opportunity to print more money, which we're all super excited about, because they did come out and say that the stablecoin will not be pegged to the dollar because it will be the dollar, whatever sense that makes. So essentially, what they're going to do is they're going to introduce the stablecoin at the same time as the dollars in circulation. So
Okay.
the struggles that they're going to have is what blockchain could handle the demand? Like what blockchain could actually handle an entire world currency on the blockchain? Because you remember, as you're storing transactions, it becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger file.
Oh, sure.
As you have, not everybody has internet. Not those things aren't like, what wallet do you have to download? So there's all these technological hurdles that have to get over that I think have really been the hesitation. But then you have China, who essentially has deployed their own currency, their own digital currency. What?
All right, we're gonna have to
5 years,
bleep that
6
out.
years
When
ago
you
now.
say the C word, we get
Oh,
shadow banned.
sorry,
So the
man.
C word, it's okay. But yes, I was about to say the digital yuan, which
Yeah,
is code word for the C word. But yeah, go ahead. Down the
bleeping
path.
it was the C word.
Yes.
Yeah, so those people have a they have it already in circulation. So in one sense there's technological challenges, and in another sense we're losing the race because other countries have figured it out long before. And what
Well,
you don't want to do is create something that rivals the dollar, right? So
right.
it's going to be a fine line to walk, and it's also a little scary. I think our government, the sometimes the tone of the way our government is moving, and the fact that we don't necessarily have as much freedom in the choices as we used to, despite the fact that we boast as we're a free country, and being able to lock down monetization or monetary stuff. So let's say we get to the point where you can vote on blockchain, and then you have a digital currency. Is there at some point where they could say, hey, all the people who voted for this person now are restricted? Or like how does that even work? Like, to me, it's a very slippery slope, but you open up all these possibilities for government to have a much bigger reach than what they have right now, which is scary.
For sure. And with the country that starts with a C that we don't say on this show because we'll get shadow banned on our platform that we're choosing to use. Do we know, or what I know about it, they use their phones just about for every transaction that they have. Like we use them kind of intermittently, but as far as like Alipay and a couple of the other options that they have, I mean, at the grocery store, it's like
Yep.
scan my phone. And so they've got the ubiquity of the phone. We have the ubiquity. Everybody's got a phone in the US, but
Yes.
I don't think we use it transactionally as much as their country does from a cultural
No.
perspective.
I
Do
just
you,
think
do
the
you agree
older
with that, or
people.
have you heard that?
Yeah, well, no, they're a much more technologically advanced society than we are, right? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they are a cashless society, and so they've been induced to this. They've been using it. I think our bigger hurdle is going to be. I mean, you think of the elderly in the
Right.
U.S. and how many people are getting scammed right now. I mean, I have a friend whose dad can't text at all, so he has just a regular home phone in his house because he can't text. And so how somebody who can't even text, how are you expecting that they're going to be able to transact digitally with this money now? I mean, the learning curve is going to be steep.
Yeah, for sure. It will that happen in an election year? That's the other thing I keep wondering. And my instincts tell me that it won't.
Am I allowed to say the T word?
What's the?
uh,
I'll tell you
the
after because I don't know yet. This
the
episode's
T
shadow banned,
candidate,
folks.
the
The what?
Republican T candidate, the presidential T candidate. I don't know how you.
Yeah, you can. I
I'm
mean,
sure we're gonna
no,
ban
that'll get
it.
us. Yeah, go. This episode's disaster. It's
But
awesome.
let's say the Republican potential
Candidate.
nominee
Yes.
candidate
There you go.
is saying that they won't allow it, that they'll ban CBDCs. So I mean, will it happen in an election year? I don't think you have the time to roll it out. I mean, our legislation moves so slow, anyways. If you get it passed, you maybe look at a 2-3 year time frame before it could actually get rolled out. But then, depending on who ends up in office, could be a determining factor as well. So no, I don't think it'll be this year. But the central banks did give everybody until 2025, so we're only looking at another year. Something's got to get figured out.
Yeah, something will give. Well, it's inevitable, but I don't think it's on the horizon for this calendar year. To me, we'll see how things play out.
No.
But I did want to close out the episode by sharing the guy that helped bring all this together. I was so excited, as you mentioned, connection of people in the space. It's amazing. If you know somebody that knows, what's the, if you know, you know.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
IKYKY.
Yeah, that one. And so I reached out to a guy, Mike Jansen. He's worth a follow here on Twitter. And you can see he is the producer at Praxis Media Group. At one point, he was, for how long is that? 23 years. He was the voiceover talent for the Colts. He called the Big Ten football championships, like the in-stadium voice. Their company has connections with Purdue basketball. I mean, if you go through, he's got all these wonderful things. What a great guy to work with.
Yeah.
He helped us get the rights. He made sure that we got uploaded to LinkedIn. I would check out his company if you get a chance. He knows crypto. He's done reels for Digital Asset Investor, Brad Kimes. And now Deanna Bailey and Jim Flint, or Dionna and Jim. I just had him put our first names.
Yeah. Woo woo. Had an impressive resume. Wow. Love it.
Military background too, like you. And I think he was with the Marines at one point. So just buttoned up, on time, taking care of business, pulling all those elements together that we're about to play in our outro video here. So please enjoy the work that Mike and his team did. And we'll see you next time on All-Time High. Thanks, Deanna.
You on my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got